Hello guys, good morning. Perfect. So can we please all stand for the ICAI motto?
Yaesha Supteshu Jagrati Yaesha Supteshu Jagrati Kamam 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 Kamasho Pusho Nirmimanaha Nirmimanaha Tadeva Shukram Tadeva Shukrada Brahma Tada Brahma Tadeva Mritamuchaya Tasmin Lokaha Tasmin Yoshaha Shataha Sarve Taduna Sarvitaschana Yamitaschana Etatvaita 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 Etatvaita.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when cure is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit.
Life is full with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns, and many a failure turns about when he might have won if he had stuck it out. Don't give up though the pace seems slow, you might succeed with another blow.
Often the struggler has given up when he might capture the victor's cup. And he yearned too late when the night slipped down, how close he was to the golden crown.
Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of clouds of doubt, and you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems afar.
So stick to the fight when you are hardest hit. It is when it seems worse that you mustn't quit.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is Don't Quit for You, a poem which never fails to bring a smile to our faces. And would like the same to happen to you. Has it happened, guys? Has it happened? That's okay. That was not something, a response I was looking out for, but nevertheless, I think the Josh will continue to bring up as we continue through the day. And along with that, let's give us a chance to make this day one of the memorable days of our life. I think already ho chuka hai kay had tak, but I think aaj aur badhega. And Harshita?
Yes, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, delegates present over here, and our esteemed guests, a heartily welcome to each and everyone present here. And we wish you a very, very good morning.
Good morning, guys. हाँ तो कहाँ खो जाते हो, बीच में से सब खो जाते हैं कहीं ना कहीं. अभी चैनल का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं चल रहा है, ICAI है, ये याद रखना पड़ेगा. Yes, that is also good. This is also better or good? That's the Josh.
I, Harshita Chandak,
and I, Saptarshi Dey, present you the second and the final day of what already has been a breathtaking conference. And guys, let's now move to a little technical session. हम लोग वापस आएंगे अगर by any chance तुम लोग miss कर दो, by any chance. But for the time being, let's introduce the session OMCs for technical session on income tax. Guys, round of applause. सबके अंदर एनर्जी बढ़ के कूट के भर चुका है, राइट गाइस? ये सुनो, दैट्स द जोश. अरे हृदय जी, क्या हाल?
अरे आइए निकुंज जी, आइए, वेलकम. क्या बात है, टेंशन में?
बहुत टेंशन होकर रखा हमको. कल हमारा का असेसमेंट आ गया, उसको लेकर हम और पास है. मेरा फेसलेस होना पड़ेगा. हम 2 दिन से
अरे फेसलेस मतलब आपको सहज पाने की जरूरत नहीं है. इट्स अ न्यू प्लेटफॉर्म लॉन्च बाय द गवर्नमेंट व्हिच रिड्यूसेस द ह्यूमन इंटरफेस.
अच्छा है हृदय जी, ये सब छोड़िए. हमारा एक बचुआ है, वो बोला कोई कुत्ता वाला कॉइन खरीदा, उसमें भी टैक्स लगेगा.
Oh, Dogecoins. Dogecoin, the Union Budget 2022 has introduced a tax rate for virtual digital assets, which includes cryptocurrencies. तो हाँ, आपका टैक्स रेट तो लगेगा आपका ट्रांजैक्शंस पे.
अरे हृदय जी, इतना टेक्निकल हमको नहीं समझ आता ना, बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स हो गया है.
कॉम्प्लेक्स?
अरे वही कॉम्प्लेन जो हम लोग पीते हैं.
अरे चिंता मत करिए, आपका कॉम्प्लेन को हम लोग बॉर्नविटा बनाते हैं. आइए आइए, आज हमारे सेशन में आपका इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं.
So, good morning, everyone. We'll start with our technical session 3. I'd like to call upon Shivam Kumar, MCM, ICASA, Miss Achal Kamlesh Shah, Miss Priyanka Tapadia, Mr. Rohit Jain, CA Mayur Agarwal sir, member EIRC, CA Chandrasekhar Vasanji, session chairman and council member ICAI.
Now I would like to take this opportunity to introduce C.A. Chandrasekhar Ji, who is an elected member of the Central Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in 2019-22 and 22 to 2025. He is the chairman, Direct Taxation Committee and Peer Review Board, and contributed several publications on direct taxes from time to time. During 21 to 22, several publications have been published by the Direct Tax Committee of the ICAI. He was also the chairman of Corporate Tax Law and Corporate Governance Committee 2020 to 2021, Vice Chairman, Management Accounting Committee 2019 to 20, Committee on Public and Government Financial Management 2020 to 2021, Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Committee 21 to 22. He had been member, Managing Committee of Pune branch of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And he was also chairman of Pune branch of ICAI for the year 1988 to 1989. He is the chairman, Direct Taxation Committee of MCCIA, Pune for more than a decade, and Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce, Industries and Agriculture, Mumbai.
Now I'd like to call upon CA Mayur sir to facilitate CA Chandrasekhar Vasanji. Now I'd like to call upon CA Mayur Agarwal, member EIRC, to address us for the National Conference 2022.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome you all to this second day of Student National Conference. I have already addressed you yesterday. I will not take much time. On the dais, Chitle sir, Central Council member, three paper presenter. Best of luck to you all of three, Rohit, Priyanka and Achal. Judges, esteemed Central Council member, CA Sushil Goyal ji, my council colleagues and other members. Friends, just I want to make one point. Yesterday after the session, many of the students and delegates wanted to know how to join ICASA and how they can work for it. Friends, the ICASA election this year is scheduled on 22nd of this month, and last date of nomination is Monday 18th, tomorrow. So any one of you who are interested can file their nomination and be part of this great ICASA team. I would also like to congratulate on this forum the team ICASA and all the volunteers for their tiring effort for making this event a grand success. A big round of applause for all the volunteers. Thank you, everyone.
Now I like to call upon CA Chandrasekhar Chitle sir to give his introductory remarks.
Good morning. CA Mayur, CA Shivam Kumar, Chairman, Student Skill Enrichment Board, and eminent council member and my colleague, CA Sushil Goyal ji, the judges, and the brilliant paper presenters, and all of you, my student friends. It's indeed a pleasure to join this national conference, and particularly on the session relating to direct taxes. The theme sees that you have to see the unseen, you have to forecast it. Of course, those who attend here used to attend hearings, the questions asked by income tax officers were always unforeseen. And at times that used to put chartered accountants and the stakeholders in awkward position. But now with the advent of faceless assessment, at least there is a comfort that you get time to prepare on those questions. When we talk of income tax, we have to really understand first the law and then apply the law to the facts when we are addressing the issues like compilation of return of income, doing audits. But when we are planning the activities, maybe we have to understand the law, not only what it provides, but what also it has omitted to provide. And just to cite an example, you must have seen that Finance Act 2021 has introduced a new scheme for taxation of reconstitution of partnership firms. And there, if the partner receives any asset, then it is liable to tax. But the wordings are in case of a specified person and a specified entity is partnership, specified person is partner. If he receives those assets, then that charge under section 9B or 45(4) will come into play. And there, the chartered accountants have noticed that in case of death of a partner, the assets received are on account of the deceased partner, but they are not received by the deceased partner since he is no more. They are received by the legal heirs of deceased partner. And the definition of specified person does not include legal heirs of deceased partner. It just says person who is a partner. So the legal luminaries and chartered accountants have interpreted that in case of dissolution, these two sections would not be applicable. So this is where you have to find out the gaps in the provision and maybe come to the rescue of the assessee in appropriate circumstances. When we talk of law, there are three sources for income tax law like any other law. One is legislature, the another is administration, and the third one is judiciary. In case of legislation, in any country, there is a ruler. In our country, this is a central legislation. So, parliament is the legislature or the law-making authority. So, whatever changes are made in income tax law or whatever law is enacted is through this parliament. So, the judge-made law, as we see in the form of Income Tax Act 1961. So, this we will have to study if we want to make the unseen seen. I'm sure all of we are reading this income tax law. Secondly, it is the administration, and the administration of direct taxes is entrusted with Central Board of Direct Taxes. And income tax rules and all other certificates, notifications, circulars are issued by the CBDT. So if we really want to understand the law, we have to study those circulars, rules, notifications. Then only we will be able to practice the law in an adequate manner. And a judge-made law, because there may be a certain gray area. And in that gray area, the manner in which the law is to be interpreted is informed to us by the decisions of courts, tribunal, high court, Supreme Court. If you read the Constitution of India says that the judgment of High Court and Supreme Court is law of the land. So it has got equal status of the law. Therefore, a student of income tax, if he wants to understand this unseen, he will have to master all these three facets of law. And then only he will be able to interpret it well. Of course, when we passed chartered accountancy exams, the law was much complicated. Sushil Goyal, much concerned with students and board of studies, noticed that the result for direct taxes is not very encouraging. So this was one reason that the institute represented the government that you simplify the law, and the process of simplification is on. And now we see that results in direct tax are good. Whatever results are declared even this week, they were also encouraging. So I'm sure that all of us will be learning the law, not only by mugging, but also understanding the principles. These type of national conferences are definitely one tool to garner this knowledge. And we have brilliant paper presenters who have dealt with certain facets like virtual digital asset, faceless assessment, etc. So definitely they have written the paper, their papers are selected from various entries that have come. So these are one of the best papers, and I'm sure that presentation of these paper writers will also throw light on various facets which you would like to know. As far as income tax is concerned, this is more useful both from practical angle, that you are working in your office, maybe post qualification, you will have to deal with tax matters. Even if you are into audit or accounts or any other field, ultimately the taxation is all pervasive. So in all field, one will have to consider taxes, and those inputs you will be getting during your studentship. So I compliment Kolkata branch, the chairman EIRC, Ravi Patwa, and his team members, and Sushil Goyal for organizing this very useful conference at this vintage venue and selecting these brilliant papers for the purpose of understanding some facets of law. So with this, I comment this particular session to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Now we will start with our paper presentation. But before starting with paper presentation, I would like to brief you the rules. Every paper presenter will get 15 minutes. First bell will be ring at 12 minutes, then at 15 minutes. So our first presenter is Mr. Rohit Jain, who will be speaking on the topic, Faceless is the new face of income tax. Technology is the gift of God. After the gift of life, it is perhaps the greatest God's gift. It is the mother of civilization, art, and science. On that note, today I hope to give you all a brief on the new scheme of income taxation, the faceless assessment.
On 13th August 2020, our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi announced the Faceless assessment under Taxpayers Charter. Consequently, on the 25th of September 2020, a scheme of faceless appeals was also launched. It is quintessential to note here that the foundation for a full-fledged faceless scheme was laid back in 2015 when the e-assessment scheme was launched on a pilot basis in the metro cities of Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, and Mumbai. Coming to the first and the foremost aspect of the transparent taxation scheme, I would like to start with the Taxpayers Charter. It forms the very foundation and the basis of the trust between the taxpayer and the income tax department. The Taxpayer Charter outlines the commitments of the department towards making the process of filing the income tax returns easier, and it also outlines the rights and the obligations of the taxpayer. It projects a major step towards achieving complete transparency between the department and the taxpayer. The key takeaways from the charter could be listed as follows. The department commits to do a fair, courteous, and an impartial proceeding for the taxpayer. It commits to proceed in a time-bound manner. It commits to respect the taxpayer's privacy and maintain confidentiality on the part of the information of the taxpayers. It commits that no undue inquiries would be made and no harassment would be done to the taxpayers. Consequently, the taxpayer also has some rights and responsibilities which he should abide to. The taxpayer should make complete, honest disclosures to the department and not hide anything. They should maintain the records as prescribed by the law and respond in a time-bound manner so that the proceedings can be done in a smooth flow. Coming to the main point, that is the faceless scheme. First, let us begin by understanding the need for a faceless assessment and the faceless appeals platform. The process of filing, scrutiny, assessment, and payment of income tax in the existing framework is a long and cumbersome affair for the ordinary, honest tax-paying person. There is too much reliance on the professionals, that is, us CAs. Prolonged filings, disorderly scrutiny, and dependency on professionals has allowed multiple government officials to harass the taxpayer. Faceless scheme shall end the era of Jan Pehchan of any sort between the taxpayer and the officers. Coming to the features of the faceless scheme. The faceless scheme shall revolutionize the existing direct tax framework of our country. The scheme is aimed at taking the whole mechanism of direct taxes online and eliminate the need for any physical interface between the taxpayer and the department. The tedious and time-taking process of assessment, scrutiny, survey, and appeals shall now be supplemented for an extensive time-bound framework in which all the communications shall be done digitally. Coming to the structure of the faceless assessment and appeals. So the National Faceless Assessment Center is at the top of the hierarchy. It will be the single point of communication between the taxpayer and the department. Below that would come the National Faceless Appeal Center, which shall be the topmost authority for handling all the appeals. Below that would be Regional Faceless Appeal Center and the regional assessment centers. Below that would be appeal units as well as the 4 units, which are the assessment unit, the verification unit, the review unit, and the assessment unit. So these 4 would do their respective functions in under the National Faceless Assessment Center. So coming to the present hurdles of the faceless assessment scheme. The effectiveness of the faceless assessment scheme has been a matter of debate ever since its implementation. A few challenges are bound to arise with the implementation of a revolutionary new framework in this ever-changing ecosystem. There is a lack of awareness between the professionals as well as the officers due to it being a completely digital platform. Some taxpayers have also pointed out that there is a shortage of the time frame which is provided to them to draft a response. There is a lack of real-time alert service, which means the taxpayer has to continuously keep a check on the mail on the site in case any notices or queries come up, which he has to then again reply for in a time-bound manner. There is a ignorance of need for a personal hearing. Some complex matters which require the taxpayer and the officer to communicate cannot be done through a digital platform and require a face-to-face platform, which has been ignored by the government. And with technological improvements, there is bound to be some technical glitches, which the government is taking care of. The government has been working proactively to address the concerns of the taxpayers and the officials. A chunk of these concerns have in fact been acknowledged and resolved in the Finance Bill 2022. A few concerns are yet to be acknowledged and would be resolved in the coming years. Coming to the future scope of the Faceless initiative. So, the future of direct taxation in India looks safe in the revolutionary transparent taxation initiative, which employs the faceless assessment and the faceless appeal scheme. The government has employed cutting-edge modern technology for the risk management system for the assessment. Automated examination tools, artificial intelligence, and machine learning will ensure that there is no human intervention or less interference from the income tax department. It will eliminate any human errors on the part of the taxpayer or the officers. No boundaries, no limit, we can use it anywhere, anytime. The faceless scheme is bound to minimize human errors and eliminate perils such as abuse of power and bribery. It shall also eliminate personal bias on the part of officers as well as the taxpayers. It shall be noted that since the year 2013 to 2021, the number of people filing returns has increased by a whopping 103%, from 3.31 crore to 6.72 crores. The number of taxpayers with income above rupees 1 crore has increased by 117%, from 88.6 thousand taxpayers to 1.93 lakh taxpayers. The increased use of digital platforms, minimization of physical intervention, team-based process flow, and various other features of the faceless scheme have greatly outweighed the drawbacks being faced by it. Despite the criticism, the general consensus remains that the faceless scheme is a step in the right direction taken by the government and given appropriate time shall revolutionize the direct taxation framework. Thank you.
Now I'd like to call upon our next paper presenter, Ms. Priyanka Taparia, who will be speaking on simplification of income tax complicates it.
Good morning to one and all present here. My name is Priyanka Taparia, and I'll be discussing with you all on the topic simplifying income tax complicates it. Now, all of you can see the meme, right? Stay strong. Tax season is almost over, right? This meme is very famous among my colleagues at my office when the due date is approaching. And I'm sure all of you can relate the pressure one has to undergo in order to submit all the returns and the documents within the deadline. Now, with keeping the motivation in mind, I would like all of you to imagine a scenario. Now, in this scenario, supposedly a client has come to you and is asking you to file and upload his income tax return on the last moment, and upon which the deadline is in just 5 hours. Now, this would cause a state of panic if this were a thing of a past. But this task is now completely possible because of the introduction of the e-filing facility. Now the e-filing facility was introduced in India in 2004. So a person can easily file its return even at midnight. Now just imagine if this was the case in the past. Will you people go at midnight in the income department office and will like, please bhaiya return le lijiye, 2 minute baki hai 12 bajne mein abhi bhi? No, right? So as I was saying, evolution of income tax in India. Our income tax system has come a long way. The evolution of income tax from an offline to an online approach is very much a game changer. Before the launch of the income tax portal, people had to stay in lines and queues for hours and hours just to submit their returns, just to get back the documents, just to submit their queries. Now, this was such a cumbersome and hectic process, right? Just imagine standing in line for hours and hours in the hot summer of Kolkata just to submit your returns. Won't you people feel fatigue? Will you people feel fatigue? I cannot hear a response. But now in this recent times, today is the case, right? We can just submit the returns via online means, right? So that is what I was trying to say, that after the launch of income tax portal, our work has become much easier as compared to the past. Moving on, our income tax portal also provides us with a lot of benefits. Apart from electronic return filing, it provides us with electronic tax payments, forms download, collection of data, grievances redressal, and registration procedures. Now one can easily apply for a new procedure just by downloading the form from the income tax portal and uploading it. Income tax portal has also become a one-stop data center that enables the taxpayers to receive in one fell swoop the entire benefits of a numerous and social policies and economic incentives. Now, how it has become a one data center? Well, because of the portal, collection of data has become very much easier and reliable. One can get all the information just from one source. Let me give you an example. We can download statements like 26AS and annual information statement just from one source. This helps us to do our audit, right people? Don't we download all our 26AS and EI statements? Isn't it the first step? So this has made it much more easier because people could download all their data from one stop. They don't have to go from one head to another head, or they don't have to repeatedly call the clients to get the information and details. However, just like a coin has two sides, this portal too has its own complication. That is problems faced while using the income tax portal. Mismatch in data, a very big problem, where your 26AS does not match with your annual information statement. Then, isn't it a headache? Don't we have to reconcile it? We have to look at the past transactions. We have to look at previous records just to match the data, just to match the client's data, right? Isn't it a headache for you people? I cannot hear. Yeah, so this is one of the very biggest problems faced while using the income tax portal. Another one, technical glitches. Just imagine yourself, you have put an entire day's effort and have filled all the data in a form. And just at night, when you're about to submit it by clicking on the enter button in the mouse, you see there's a technical glitch and your entire work vanishes. How will you feel, people? Frustrated? You will have mental fatigue, right? That I have to do the entire work from scratch once again. Now moving on, another problem is the problems that we face with PAN card. Now India is a country, and India is a country with a huge population, and because of the linguistic barriers, the spelling or the spelling in the names of people may differ in one identity card with another. As a result, this is not taken into account while submitting our portals, and the portal often does not authenticate our PAN card and Aadhaar card just because of this mismatch. Another one problem is DSC re-registration. I remember when I was uploading a return, and even after making sure that the DSC was registered and it was not expired, the portal was still not uploading my return. Even after making the registration twice, it is still not being done. Now remember, just imagine it's not being registered and you are being told by your boss that you have to upload it, and it is also told by your client that you have to upload it. How will you feel? Right? Tensed? Will you feel tensed? Because of the problem faced while using the income tax portal, right? Now OTP is not being received. Another one where you don't get the OTP while you are trying to submit your documents. Now I'm sure all of you have at least faced one problem while submitting or doing work on the portal. Please, by a show of hands, can I just see how many of you have faced these problems? Oh, quite a lot of you. Now this proves my point that even though the tax system in our India has been simplified to a great extent, but there are still complications which makes it furthermore complicated for the tax system to make our work easier. Now, as I said, the complications in our income tax portal, has it really been making our ITR filing easier, or it's just making us do more work? In previous years, a 3 to 4 page of ITR, which was submitted to be offline, is now being converted into a 93 pages ITR in the online service. Now you can see how much more data and information needs to be filled and how much more data information needs to be collected in order to fill. Has it actually made our work easier, or has it just made it a lot more complicated and time consuming in order to get the data? Now, moving on, I would like to discuss that people are often perceived with the notion that why the tax calculation is very difficult. As Sir said, that we have to first understand the law and then apply it. But why also after then taxes are so complicated? Well, just imagine if only one income tax rate was fixed for all the taxpayers. That means a people earning in lakhs have to pay the tax at the same rate as a person earning in crores. Now, do you think this is fair? Please, louder, please. Yes, I thought so, that it's not fair, because the main aim of our tax system is not only just to raise revenue, but to make sure that the revenue is being raised in a fair and an equitable manner. As it is shown in the PPT, that the other goals are fairness, efficiency, and enforceability. Now, competing goals for a tax system. Now, it is always expected that while formulating a tax policy, there will be both simplicity in it as well as the goals which had to be accomplished in order with the intent for which the tax policy was made. However, the reality is not the same, because while achieving the goals, one often compromises the simplicity. Let me further illustrate it to you with an example. Now, the government introduced various incentives in order to encourage investment in the country. However, after claiming such deductions and incentives, taxpayers had to pay at least no amount of tax or only a marginal amount of tax, even though they were capable of paying normal tax. Now, the government also has to have a constant inflow of taxes. Thus, the government introduced the alternative minimum tax scheme. To make sure that one scheme, or that is the intention with which the deductions are provided, is not disrupted away, it introduced another scheme, that is the alternative minimum tax scheme, so that a levy of taxes is being made on the zero tax payable companies. Now, can I ask this? Like, as I said, do any of you know how many ITRs are there for a taxpayer? I know the answer is already there, so 7. However, the reasons for different types of ITRs are amount of income earned, the differences in the status of person, that is, it can either be a resident or non-resident, an individual or an association, because also in the differences in the various business activities conducted. However, just imagine a simple person who does not have so much knowledge about the law. He will not even have the knowledge of knowing which ITR he has to file, and as a result of which he has to acquire professional help. Don't you think a person should at least know which ITR he should file and among which ITR type he's falling under? Moving on. I would like to incorporate an example to further illustrate on my topic, simplifying income taxes complicates it. Now, the system of dual tax regime announced in the budget 2020 is both simple and complicated at the same time. How is it simple and how is it complicated? Let us further discuss on it. Now, the simplified element of the new tax regime is inherent. You don't have to bother about the complicated filing procedures, and it also saves you time and lowers the possibility of errors in filing. Moreover, the idea of offering taxpayers the switch or the advantage to switch to any one of the schemes every year, which lends it flexibility and greater choice, which is also a very much advantage. Moreover, the budget has also simplified the tax regime by doing away with the exemptions, which has made tax filing more streamlined and straightforward. But here comes the complicated element. That is, the simplified new tax regime only comes into play after an individual decides which new tax regime to pick. But to arrive at that decision, an individual payer has to calculate upon which income tax regime he should go under. He has to make the calculations, as a result of which the complication lies in the decision making. The average taxpayer may need professional help in order to arrive at that decision. Thank you. Any questions, please? Any questions? Okay, if you don't have questions, I would like to further discuss about this topic. Now, moving on to the first slide. Did any of you notice how it can be read differently? It's written simplifying income. Tax complicates it. Like the income is simplified, but because of the various taxes which have been introduced, does it complicate it? Can I get a yes or no? Do you think tax is complicated? Our tax system is complicating, even though the reforms introduced by the government is making it much more complicated. Okay, so the conclusion, since it was a topic with a question mark, I think the audience and I conclude that even though tax reforms are being introduced, it is still complicated. Thank you.
So moving to our next speaker, I would like to call upon Achal Kamlesh Shah, who will be speaking on taxation of digital assets.
Hello, everyone. Can you guess the picture on the left? Okay. This is actually a picture of a person who took selfies for 5 years. This is worth $1 million. Is it possible? Have you ever thought of that while sitting on those trams, yellow taxis, and even walking on those park streets, when you were scrolling those memes are actually worth $1 million. Those people who are sitting over here are actually interacting with digital assets, at least hundreds, if not thousands, within a day. But the dilemma is what exactly digital asset is. A very warm welcome to one and all present here, the city of sweets, global holdings. As per IFRS, as well as Tesla Motors, as per US GAAP, has recognized it under the head intangible assets in its annual accounts. The conclusion, confusion, and the future. Indian government has not provided with any laws with regard to governing, prohibiting of the virtual digital assets. It has just classified it, provided taxation rates and nothing, and also created reserved a right to increase its scope of virtual digital assets. Reserve Bank has launched its first central bank digital currency, the digital rupee, which will be completely regulated by Reserve Bank. We all have two things in certain: debt and taxation. No matter whatever new things you find, government will find ways to tax it. Although taxing virtual digital asset does not make it legal, but tax is also levied on illegal and undisclosed incomes. From the read-only era, Web 1.0, to read and write era, Web 2.0, Internet has expanded incredibly. Now imagine an era where you can actually sell assets online and earn from them. Play to earn concept. This is Web 3.0, blockchain-enabled digital technology. India is definitely inclined to benefit from it in case of revenue generation, employment generation, and much more. By 2030, the growth rate is expected to be at least 15%. So from this 3 trillion market capital will increase to 6 to 8 trillion market capital. Thus, with no clarity of the regularity and proactive policy frameworks, India may lag behind in the chain of Web 3.0 revolutions. Now, it's upon you whether to buy crypto or buy crypto. Thank you so much.
So thank you for all the presenters for their valuable inputs. We had Rohit Jain giving us a ray of hope for our promising future for faceless assessment. And then we have Priyanka Taparia speaking on the convenience that has grown up in income tax departments. And after listening to Achal Kamlesh, we can all see that it's high time for us to click pictures every day. So moving on, Nikunj, so आपको समझ आया ना?
एकदम पूरा कॉन्फिडेंस और बॉर्नविटा सब समझ आ गया हमको एकदम.
So everyone, आप लोग को समझ आया ना?
So आवाज नहीं आया, थोड़ा जोर से. हाँ. So now I like to call upon CA Chandrasekhar Chitle sir to give his concluding remarks for the session.
Well, friends, we have witnessed illuminating session. The three young would-be chartered accountants have informed us about the three facets. As far as faceless assessment is concerned, you will appreciate that it addresses the issue of convenience, competence, and corruption. As Rohit pointed out, maybe at midnight also you can upload the reply. So that is part of convenience. If the assessment is not faceless, various other considerations also center around passing assessment. Now, in case of faceless assessment, particularly when the assessing officer is unknown and he is not from the city to which the assessee belongs, that's what the ground rules state. Certainly, the competence will play a major role, because solely it will be the response that is given by the chartered accountant would be judged for the purpose of passing assessment order. And the main maniac of direct taxation is about corruption. So corruption would be largely addressed by this particular faceless assessment. And I'm sure we as a professionals would certainly like to support this era of faceless assessment for these three reasons. And the rest, I think the paper presented Rahul has elaborately dealt with. I'm sure over a cup of tea subsequently, if you have any doubts, you can definitely ask him and he will explain them. Coming to the convenience or the compliance procedures, and mainly, you know, earlier there was physical procedures, maybe returns, etc., to be filed physically. Now it has gone electronically. You have to file on income tax portal. Up to June 2020, various functions up to furnishing of information were on income tax portal, and they were working seamlessly. Thereafter, in June 2020, particularly new portal has been rolled out, and the canvas of this particular e-processing, etc., has been substantially expanded. However, as Priyanka has explained, there are certain aberrations in these particular procedures. Maybe in time to come, it will be mitigated. But as far as this ease of doing business is concerned, it is not merely in the procedural matters, but it is also in the law. So what everybody expects, that let there be a simple income tax law. And that's what Honorable Prime Ministers also felt. A group was set up. In 2010, the report was submitted for direct tax code. However, let us try to understand, and particularly as a students of chartered accountancy, in this world, there is no piece of legislation as a simple tax law. And that can be appreciated with only a single definition of transfer. When we transfer any capital asset, what is transfer? Merely you sell, transfer, that is a transfer, and then the tax is attracted. However, there are various other means which were employed by taxpayers, that a capital asset was converted into stock in trade. Maybe the agreement for sale was made for immovable property, possession was given, but no transfer was made. So in all these cases where the taxpayers have had favorable judgments, in order to overcome those loopholes, the law has been changed. So wherever any loophole is found out, the law becomes complicated. And in a quest to not to pay tax, I'm sure that the taxpayers and the consultants would be eager to finding out such loopholes, banking upon those loopholes, and then government will come down heavily by plugging those loopholes, if not prospectively, maybe in cases retrospectively as well. So law will remain complicated, but as a student of chartered accountancy, we need not bother about that, because we have enough competence to comprehend it. So if anybody doesn't understand that complicated law, we are there to explain. So that will definitely give us an edge over others, and people will ask us about the complicated aspects. About virtual digital asset, Anchal has also dealt with it. Now, you find certain provisions unreasonable in this virtual digital asset taxation, that if supposing you have purchased two virtual digital assets on the same day, say 100 cryptocurrencies or whatever, in one transaction, you make profit of 5 lakh rupees. In another transaction, you make loss of 5 lakh rupees. But the loss is you have to pay tax on 5 lakh rupees and ignore loss of 5 lakh rupees. We believe it is unreasonable. Whether the government believes it is unreasonable, the answer is in affirmative. But then what is the reason for being unreasonable? The reason is, as she explained, that as far as these cryptocurrencies are considered a synonym to virtual digital asset, where nobody knows who is the creator, how the transaction takes place, who is monitoring the system, and maybe the underworld currency would become or has become this virtual digital asset in the form of various currencies. So the government wants to discourage it. It is not declaring it illegal, but then Reserve Bank of India has issued many circulars cautioning the bank not to invest into these virtual digital assets, and also for others to keep away from it. And just to give that message in bold, one more way the government has adopted is taxation of it in an unreasonable manner. Of course, before advent of this section 115 BBH, it is not that transactions on VDA were not taxable. Maybe in earlier era also, if you gained from virtual digital asset, if you lost from virtual digital asset, that form part of your business income or other sources, or maybe capital gains. But now a new era of taxation has commenced, where they have given a specific rules for this purpose, and been explained by Anchal. Before we close this session, let me also inform you that now we are amidst doing tax audits. So Direct Taxation Committee is revising the tax audit guidance note. And certainly we will be having new guidance note. There is a council meeting and council has to release that guidance note. So on 14th of August, the new revised tax audit guidance note would be released. So whenever you are conducting tax audits for assessment year 2022-23, maybe you will refer this particular guidance note. And even the council member from Kolkata, CA Ranjit Agarwal, is also helping us. He is heading this tax audit quality review board. And today also he has organized one meeting to give inputs for this particular guidance note. So I thank you, Ranjit, for organizing this meeting. And I'm sure all the three paper presenters have done justice to their topic. And I'm sure you will learn substantially from their presentations. Thank you.
Now we'll open up for Q&A session. Anyone having some questions for the presentations we had today?
Any questions? कुछ नहीं.
शायद speakers ने अच्छे से explain किया होगा. So we'll move on to next session, which is a quiz session.
So for quiz session, we have for each question we have one gift. But before starting with the quiz session, I would request all of you to please, if you know the answer, just give us a show of hand. Don't spell out the answer, please. So the first question is, what is the rate of TDS on digital asset, that is cryptocurrency? Anyone? Please don't fill out the answers. Mike.
Is it 1%?
Yes. Your name?
Abhishek Mishra.
Okay. Next question is, when did Income Tax Act 1961 came into force?
First July 1962.
Sorry, okay.
1st July 1962.
Wrong.
No, that's not.
1st April 1962.
That's the right answer.
Right answer. Your name?
Your name? Yash Katodia.
What is the threshold limit for non-applicability of section 194R?
Back at the back.
At the back.
50,000.
No, that's not a right answer. Moving on.
20,000.
Correct.
That's the right
Your
answer.
name?
Ashwin Kumar.
Ashwin Kumar.
Next question we have, within how many months the investment should be made from proceeds of sale of immovable property to avail the exemption under section 54 EC?
6 months.
That's the right answer. Your name?
Shivam Mansal.
Shivam. Last question. What is the chargeability section under the Income Tax Act 1961 for income from other sources?
56. 56. 56.
That's the right answer.
Suraj Bapudia.
Kunal? That's it.
So now I like to call upon our judges, CA SS Gupta sir, CA Sanjay Bhattacharya sir, CA Anup Sanghai sir, to
So
on stage, sir.
Yes.
On stage. I'd also like to call upon CA Sunil Singhi sir, I would like Sunil Singhi sir to please facilitate CA SS Gupta sir. Now I like CA Sunil Singhi sir to please facilitate CA Sanjay Bhattacharya sir. Now I like to call Sunil Singhi sir to please facilitate CA Anup Sanghai sir. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to call upon team member ICASA to facilitate our first paper presenter, Mr. Rohit Jain. Now I'd like to call upon team member ICASA to felicitate our second paper presenter, Ms. Priyanka Tapadia. Now, the last but not the least, I would like to call team member ICASA to facilitate Ms. Achal Kamlesh Shah.
Now we would like to call upon Mr. Shivam Kumar's MCM ICASA to give the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning from me too. So one of our judges would like to address you. I would request CASS Gupta sir to please be here and address the gathering. Please welcome sir. Shivam will continue with the vote of thanks once sir has spoken.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning, students. It reminds me of my own days. 1970 to 1973, when I qualified as a CA. Friends, I have heard all the three speakers. Since it is a subject and topic of income tax, Chairman of the Taxation Committee, Chitle sir, is here. My one suggestion, which I follow till now, you must read the Act carefully again and again, again and again, again and again. For each query, see, there are provisions in the Income Tax Act which extend up to 2 lines or 3 lines of a particular section like 68, 48, 3. But whenever you read it with a query or an issue at the back of your mind, your reading makes it different. One thing has been told by Chitle sir regarding virtual digital asset, that if on the very same day 2 transactions are carried out of the same asset, and in one you gain and in the other you lose, that also is not subject to set off. Sir, reading of the provisions carefully can give you this meaning. So, coming to one more thing regarding tax audit. 44 AB. Sir, 44 AB, can we have any response from you? All of you must be directly or indirectly engaged in conducting of tax audit. What is the last date of obtaining the tax audit report? Any response from any student? Well, whether it is 30th September or 31st October is not the dispute. But I for one would say this is a wrong answer. Now your question may be, how do you say, sir? Sir, if you read 44 AB, it makes a distinction. Obtain the report before the specified date and furnish it by that date. So obtaining before and furnishing by that date, my reading of the section is that these are two different dates and not one date. That is why I am stressing, since it is a topic of income tax, please read the sections and provisions again. In my office, my students or my assistants, whenever they come and ask me anything, I don't straight away give a reply. I look at the provisions, read it, and then only give a reply. That is what I wanted to impress upon. Thank you, friends.
Good morning, everyone. I, Shivam Kumar, the Managing Committee member of ICAI. I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to our session chairman and council member, Chandrasekhar Chirle sir. I also thank to nominated member of EIRC, CA Mayur Agarwal sir, and to all paper presenters and all CA students. And last but not the least, I would love to thank to all the students for attending this national conference for their better future. Thank you.
How's the Josh, guys? It's a mom speaking, but it's all right. Can I just ask it again? How's the Josh? Yay. Okay, we'll start now.
Guys, please settle down.
ऐसे आज हम लोग सीए का मौसम है वाला फ्रेज रिपीट नहीं किए ना, just saying, just very randomly saying if we can say it again. Can we? Do we remember it? I can see people smiling here. Do we remember the face?
मुस्कान की चमकान रहना चाहिए ना.
Yes. So can we repeat it again? सीए का मौसम है, सॉरी, सीए का मौसम तो हमेशा ही रहता है, बट अभी बारिश का मौसम चल रहा है.
Fortunately or unfortunately. Nevertheless.
Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. This lines by Robert Frost not only instills a sense of confidence in arts, but brings us factually close to our next guest, whose contributions speaks in itself: a chartered accountant, a business tycoon, a sports entrepreneur, and an excellent business strategist, not only known for facing challenges head-on, but also thriving at it.
Guys, he is one of the face to bring the game of volleyball into picture in India. He is the co-owner of Kolkata Thunderbolts and Prime Volleyball League, adding value to India's sporting ecosystem. He is an exceptional speaker and motivates young entrepreneurs. बहुत लोग यहाँ पे बैठे होंगे who want to be future budding entrepreneurs and in general individuals to solve real world problems and create value in people's lives. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further time, I think we should request the AV to play here. Guys, please have rapt attention क्योंकि इस सेशन का इंतजार सबको है. इधर बालकनी में सबको है कि नहीं? Guys, है कि नहीं? है कि नहीं? है कि नहीं? That's the Josh, guys.
Thank you.
Can you please have the AV?
CA Pawan Kumar Patodia is a renowned industrialist, philanthropist, sports entrepreneur, and angel investor, widely